Hello, hello, friends. Let's get this all set up. Let's see. I want to say just about ready. Just got to turn my iPad on. Let's see. Let's make sure my sound's off. Ooh, I think we're good. And then, let's see. Could I go down a little bit? Perfect. All right. All right, y'all. We are getting there. Let's see, who do we have on our live? Hello, Christian. My comments aren't fully populating. That's weird. There we go. Here we're getting little bits and bobs. I might just be a little late to responding to y'all, so just bear with me. But hello, hello. Hello, Amy and Patsy. All right, there we go. They're coming through. Okay, so just so y'all know, and I might be I am responding late to when you're commenting. For whatever reason, my comments are coming through on my iPad at least 30 seconds to a minute after y'all are posting them. So sorry about that. I know that there's usually a little bit of a delay, but I'm just giving you a little forewarning tonight. But hello, everyone. I know I said hello to Christian, Patsy, hello, Amy, and Gwen, and Carrie. I hope you all are having a wonderful Wednesday night, and I'm so excited to be here to craft with you for my first March live. And I'm sitting here thinking that I didn't grab my card base, and I'm also missing my card panel that I had die cut in advance. So, oh boy, always a little bit of something, but it's okay. We're gonna figure it out. No, we're good. We are good. So hello, everyone. Tonight we are going to be coloring up the Around the World stamp set. So let me grab that. And it's a fun building stamp set. It's got all of these really cute sentiments that are included. So we're going to use this along with the Day in the Park paper pack, because part of tonight's live, I want to talk about color coordinating. And I have this paper pack, and there's actually two patterns that work really, really well for this stamp set. I mean, mind you, we do have the Around the World, or it's either called Around the World or World Traveler paper pack. I apologize, the name is slipping me. I think it's sold out on the website right now. But these two patterns also work really, really well. So we have this really nice colored up version, which is personally my favorite of the two, but we're going to actually be focusing on the yellow, white, and gray one tonight. So I've grabbed that color in advance. So we're going to be using all of these colors with making our building. So in addition to that, I am doing something a little different tonight in terms of my coloring, and I wanted to explain to you what I did. I always, and I say always, and it's not the case in this instance, I always like to just stamp in a black ink, a black Copic safe ink, and that's what I color with. But today I wanted not black lines for my building. I wanted gold lines. So what I did was I did a little bit of trial and error today before I went to work this morning, and I came up with this. And what this is, I used the gold Catherine Pooler pigment ink with the clear Kindred Stamps embossing powder. And pigment inks, if you've got a pigment ink that's really good at staying wet and giving you a nice sort of crisp line, they work really well with embossing powders. I had actually, let me take that off to the side. I actually did this a couple times where these are really pretty, but I had used a gold embossing powder from my stash at first, and I wasn't in love with the final result. I went ahead, I stamped these out using I would think it's called Morning Mist Versifying Clair ink. And then I went over it with a gold embossing powder. And it's really, the lines are slightly thinner, but I was worried that I was going to have areas where the embossing powder didn't attach to, and I'm going to have some bleeding. And it was also hard for me to get my images to not be super staticky. So there's a little bit of gold flecks. When I say gold flecks, I mean little bits of the embossing powder that are going to be found throughout the project. And I didn't really want that. So I'm just going to save these in my stash. I know I'll be able to find a future use for these where I probably won't be coloring them up. But I'm going to be focusing on the gold pigment ink with the clear embossing powder for my coloring. So let me just set these images off to the side. Let me check comments really quickly. All right. Oh, you all are so sweet. Hello, Flower and Elizabeth. Hello, Diana. Oh, it is gorgeous out, Christian. I have my window open right now. You're probably going to hear some birds chirping. I just wanted some natural air conditioning in my craft space tonight. So Patsy's ready to go. Hello, Barbara and Carrie. Hello, two Carries. I was saying it to Carrie Lee Walden, and then I saw Carrie with a K underneath. So I apologize. Hello to both Carries. So let's get into a little bit of coloring. So I'm going to pull my chair up. I always like to color sitting down. Now, another thing I wanted to talk about is our glass mat, which I am using to color my image on. And what I've been finding that I've been using my Kindred stamps mat for the most is when I'm not coloring at my craft desk. So I like to use this when I am going to be coloring at my kitchen table or some other flat surface where I want a nice glass surface to color on, because this will just really help me to move it around. It's sturdy, so it's got a little bit of weight to it, but it's very portable. So, all right, let's get into some coloring. We're gonna go ahead and let's start with coloring our gold areas. I wanna just focus on the gold accents first, so let's start with some Y28. And I'm gonna go ahead and just kind of pick what areas I want to be gold. It's not gonna be too much. Most of this is gonna be white, and because of that, there's actually not going to be a lot of coloring that's required for this. So the reason why I sealed this with the gold or with the clear embossing powder was because I wanted to minimize any sort of cross contamination, because these pigment inks are not really Copic marker friendly. And I was aware of that, of course, and I just wanted to make sure whatever I was picking was Copic marker friendly. And you can always seal when I say seal, I kind of mean like cover up. You can always cover up non-Copic friendly inks with embossing powder and heat set them, and that allows you to be able to use them for coloring. With alcohol markers, rather. Ooh, the birds are really active today. All right, so we're just gonna go in. Let's also do these diamonds right here. This is Y28. And just kind of go in and make sure I'm not missing anything. We'll do these diamonds over here as well. And we'll do these. And let's do this little crown area as well. Perfect. All right. Carrie, this is the Around the World stamp set. It's in the shop right now. It is in stock. It is a 4x6 stamp set. I'm moving on to Y26, mind you, for coloring. It is currently in stock. It's from a couple of releases ago. It's definitely from 2023. I want to say maybe a summer release, but I don't remember specifically. So it's been in our shop for a little bit, but it can be an easy one to miss. I want to say Audra actually did the sneak peek for this set. I may have to end up shutting my window because I feel like these birds are a little bit noisier than I had originally anticipated. And I apologize for that. I was trying to be really easygoing. Like, oh yeah, open windows sound great, but don't think so. Let's make sure. Am I missing any comments? Oh, Christian, I'm so glad that you love it. And hello, Karen and Michelle. I hope you're both having wonderful evenings. So, all right, let's go in for our final gold color. We're going to do some Y21. And now, like I said, I'm going to be focusing on this gold and white color scheme. I mean, gold, gray, and white, but really what I'm going for mostly over here is all of my gray is going to be actually white. I'm just kind of going in, coloring up all of my gold bits, just like this. All right, let's see. And color that in. I think when I'm done with this, I'm going to get up and go ahead and close this window. All right, hold on one second. There we go. All right, and I am going to color up these yellows a second time, but these are going to be the only colors that I'm coloring up twice. Christian saw 4 robins today, a little early for them. It is a little early for the birds, but it's nice to hear them. All right, let's go back with some Y28s, wrong side of my marker, and just kind of go in, color this all up. And like I said, most of this is going to be white. I totally forgot that I was coloring up the cheeks. That's okay. I'll get it on the second go around. Now, another really fun way for you to color this up. So I was talking about the Day in the Park paper pack and how there are 2 patterns that coordinate really well. So we're focusing on the white, gray, and gold, but you can also use the pattern that's very pastel multicolor. That's my favorite color scheme for this stamp set. I just didn't use it for this one because I thought it would make the most sense just to display like a little bit of like shortcut coloring, and this was the easier color scheme to work that with. All right. Now I know I said that I kind of sealed my color, my ink in by using clear embossing powder. Now another reason that I love to use clear embossing powder to kind of seal these images when I'm doing my alcohol marker coloring is that if I get it outside of the lines, like, you know, when you have to use an anti-static tool in order to make sure that you're not getting like little bits and bobs of embossing powder on parts of your stamped image that you don't want, clear embossing powder, it's not really going to show unless you go over it with a marker or with ink. And because a lot of this image is white, I knew that I would be safer using a clear embossing powder opposed to using a colored one like when I was using the gold. I do love this in the gold embossing powder. I do encourage you, if you have a moment ever while crafting that you want to get a little experimental, try stamping in a Copic safe ink that isn't black and color up your image using that color. For example, I was working on a non-Kindred project maybe a week or 2 ago, and I was coloring up a flower, and I decided with my color scheme that I was going to make it a yellow flower, and I thought it would be unique to stamp it in brown, because when you stamp things in brown, it gives it a little bit more of like kind of a, I want to say like a realistic effect because it softens those black lines. Brown is much more of a natural color than black is. So I was able to kind of utilize that to my advantage since I was working with a project already that utilized so many natural colors. And it just really softened up my image. I love the way that it turned out. So I encourage you to try that if you ever have a chance. All right, let's see. Hello, Alyssa. We have 3 carries here. Oh my goodness. All right, so we're gonna go in with some N4. And I'm just gonna go in and start adding some shadow. Now, I am not double coloring my whites. Now, my reason for that, I don't typically color them twice because I like my whites when I'm intending it to be white. I like it to stay white. And if I color it twice, it really starts to saturate the image where it becomes more of a gray. And if I only color it once, it's going to be lighter. So we're just going to color this up once. Kind of going in. This is not going to take me too long to do. We're just going to do 3, maybe 4 markers, depending on if I need to use my colorless blender at all. We're just going to kind of go in. Let's see. So I'm just kind of adding this. Just like this. Let's go along the bottom. Just like this. Perfect. Kind of giving it some shading. Maybe it takes a little bit longer, but I guarantee you, if you color it up with the pastel version, it's going to take you longer. Which, if that's what you're okay with, by all means. And I'm going to have to fix that. That's okay. So let's put in this. I think that went a little far. That's okay. I can always fix that. Just kind of going in, getting this nice and colored. This line's going to look really harsh in the beginning, but it will soften, I promise, by the addition of more colors. Kind of go in. I might get a little quiet as I begin to finish this up. If I missed anything, I can always go back in and fix it. I'm not worried about it at all. Perfect. And then we'll just go in and add some shading along the bottom. All right, we're getting there. We've got some shadow going. Let's check comments, make sure that I'm not missing anything. All right, we're gonna move on to N2. Now for N2, I'm just gonna kind of bring out each of those shadows. I just like to build my colors on top of each other. So we're just gonna kind of extend those shadows. So thicker lines, making everything nice and pretty. Just to really start making this building pop. I actually kind of feel like the color palette that we're using for this image is also kind of a little truer to character, at least when we're talking about like exteriors. Because of course I always like to use reference points when I begin planning my lives, or even when I start coloring up images for a release, where I try to find some inspiration for where I need to go with the colors. And I kind of felt with doing my research for this today, this color was the more appropriate palette to use for this image, at least for tonight's live. It's also going to be super cute if you do it in the pastel color palette as well, but I'm happy with this tonight. I'm excited too because I've got a couple more tips and tricks to share with you. And I think that this card has the potential to turn out like extra cute. I'm also curious to see what the fussy cutting of this is going to be like. Because it shouldn't be too bad until we're getting to like the little spires. Those might be a little tedious to cut around, but we will get through it. And I know I said that this is a quick method. I do stand by that. It's still going to take you a little bit of time, but that's because this image does have a lot more detail. And it's also quite a large image. It's like I think it's called the New Orleans Manor stamp set. That project, or that image, is also one that has a lot of, if you're staying true to color, it's going to have a lot of white elements, but it's still going to take you a little bit because there's just so much going on. I love that stamp set though. Oh my gosh, I had so much fun coloring that up. It took me a little bit. I want to say that coloring up that image took me maybe 2 hours to do, because it was just a lot of detail and I really wanted to do that image justice, but it was well worth it. All right, let's do a line over here. Perfect. All right, we're getting there. All right, the first gray was N4. The second gray was N2. Christian, does the Copic stick to the set embossing powder? No, not really. It kind of acts like a well, Christian. So it doesn't really stick to it at all. I'm not having any issues with that as I'm coloring it. This is also a common practice that people who like to watercolor do, where they'll use an embossing powder to create those wells to kind of help contain colors. I'll tell you, Christian, though, what is sticking to the embossing powder, it's my fingers or my hand, because I keep on like resting my hand on the image, and when I pull it up, it like does that like sticky to skin sort of feel. So be warned of that if that startles you, but it's not that big of a deal. It's not messing up your image at all. All right. And well, I will probably go in with a colorless blender just to kind of help soften these whites a little bit, or these grays, we'll say. It's a little stark. It's okay though. Grays are just, they're a little tricky, and I always like to color them up lighter. And I wish that with Copics, they have 0-0s for the warm grays and the cool grays, and I really wish they would introduce those for the toner and the neutral grays as well, and they don't. And I don't work for Copic, so I don't really get much of a say, but I think it would be really helpful in situations like this because it would really help blend this out. I had thought that I might want to use a cool gray, but I thought it would be a little too blue, so I thought neutral was going to be a little bit more on the appropriate side for this image, which I stand by. As I'm coloring it, I have no issues with my selected color for this. I just wish that this wasn't the lightest shade I was working with, because whites can just be a little tricky, and that's okay, we learn. And also remember too, I've said this before, but I like to always say it. If you're ever coloring and you feel like your image is just like a scotch too dark, like just slightly darker than you would like for it. Sorry about that. My mother decided to call me, so I apologize about the noise. Just kind of going in, make sure everything looks okay. Perfect. All right, we're going to go in with a colorless blender, and then we're going to be close to done. Sorry about if y'all lost me, Christian. It was because my phone went off because my mom decided to call. No, I did not take her phone call, but I know that that can interrupt the process. I probably should get in the habit of turning on airplane mode, and I don't. I always forget that part. All right, now I'm just kind of going in with my colorless blender just to kind of help these colors along, lighten them up a little bit, help these grays bleed into whites a little bit. So just kind of going in anywhere there's kind of like a starker line, just kind of go in and correct it. Just like this. All right. Okay, perfect. Actually, I really like how that turned out. Color up over here. Some of the grays are a little bit more splotchier than what my coloring normally allows itself to, and that's okay. I feel like with an image like this that's predominantly white, that is acceptable. Oh my gosh, Christian Mom, you know what? what she probably would do, you're not very far off, but what she would probably do, because it's happened once or twice before, my mom calls my husband and makes sure everything is okay. I didn't think about that part about turning on airplane mode. In a perfect world, I should probably like always let my mom and my husband know, like, hey, I've got a Facebook Live at this time, so don't bother me, which sounds not very nice, but y'all get my gist, because then I get little blips like this, but it's okay. I'm just gonna kind of go around. I just realized I didn't grab my foam tape. So I'll get that shortly. It's these little flowers. I knew it was going to be these little flower spires, not spirals, that were going to get me. It's okay. Coordinating dye of this would be lovely. I might go in and make those little spires gold, just with like one color. I really like the way that the lines and the embossing turned out for this. I think it's really pretty. Oh my gosh, Christian, I'm just sitting here thinking about my mother calling the police. That would be a much worse outcome, wouldn't it? Oh my gosh. I'm just gonna work on cutting this out. I do generally like to fussy cut. I know I'm sitting here being like, oh, a coordinating die would be nice, as it always would, but this isn't bad at all. I've dealt with much more smaller details to cut around. The one image, okay, so one of the Kindred Stamps images that whenever I fussy cut, I feel like the one that has given me the most concern in terms of me with my skill is the villain from the Once Upon a Nap stamp set, and it's specifically because of her staff. So the stick that she's holding, I always feel like I'm cutting it that it's going to be too narrow. And it's like specifically the portion, like, because it's got the orb on the top. I should cut this excess off. And it's like, it really, the stamped image kind of thins out. And I'm worried that I'm going to like accidentally cut the orb right off. All right, we're getting there. We're making progress. Actually, now that I'm looking at it, I feel like this needs to be trimmed down a little bit. There we go. Yeah, the spires. The spires are just a little tricky. But then again, I say about a coordinating die, it happens to me all the time that I process a coordinating die, and when I put it on top of my image, it's not perfectly lined up. And I feel like these little spire images would be parts of the image that could be almost like cut off if you just slightly position your coordinating die incorrectly. So maybe this image should be fussy cut. All right, we're getting there. This is the final stretch. And then I'm going to check comments. All right. We're going to work on a background. I have an idea that's kind of new to me, but I think it'll work. I hope it'll work. All right. We have our image all cut and colored up. Your mother-in-law called the governor once looking for your husband. Oh my goodness, Carrie. Oh, and Carrie, K-A-R-I is who I'm making that comment to, and I'm looking at Carrie, C-A-R-R-I-E, fancy AF. I love that. That's his, it is a little fancy AF. I do have a scan and cut. I do have a scan and cut that I do use on occasion. Me and my scan and cut have a little bit of a trust issue because I spend a lot of time coloring up very delicate images that I want to be cut out perfectly. And I always talk about, it was a retired Kindred stamp set, and I was coloring up, I want to say it was Fashion Boss. It's an old set, not available anymore. And that set gave my character a nose job. When I used my scan and cut, it cut the nose right off out of the center. And there was no way for really to fix it unless I wanted to color up a new face, fussy cut it out and paste it on top. So ever since then, I've just had a little bit of trust issues when it comes to my scan and cut. So let's get to some ink blending. And I just realized I didn't grab my antique linen. Well, I hope this isn't too dirty. My antique linen blending tool. So let's see how this goes. So we're going to go in. And we're just going to kind of blend these edges. And it's going to be the darkest on the top, or the part that's closest to this hand. And then I'm going to kind of lighten it for the rest. And it's going to be like a golden sky. Okay. And so my thought is, it's not as smooth as I would like it, but it's going to be like this is where my image is going to go. I'm almost wondering if the bottom needs to, I want to do the bottom. How much is off? I do want it more like this. So do I need to do the bottom a different color? Maybe I blend the bottom to be gray. Maybe we'll do Lost Shadow. That would be not terrible. So let's do that. Just to give it a little bit of a difference of color. So I'm going to go in with some Lost Shadow next. I'm not really going to blend these together and do an ombre. I just want to add some discoloration to the bottom. This Lost Shadow is such a delicate gray. That's not me saying it to complain. It's just doesn't register super well sometimes on camera, but it'll just give a nice sort of gray effect to the bottom. Now, this looks really choppy. I have a white line that goes down the center of it, and I'm going to tell you why it's okay if you haven't already figured it out, and that's because my image is going to fully cover it up, and I think that's super cool. So it's going to be just like this, and my sentiment, I have an idea, and it's a little lofty, but we're going to see how this works. So, and if it doesn't work, I'll figure something out. I always do. All right, and I say that because we have to. We have to be crafty. We've got to kind of figure out what we want to do. And do I want to splatter? I think I want to splatter. All right, let's do just a little bit of fossilized amber, which we'll be using a lot more than a minute. And we're going to really water it down. And then let's go in and just kind of splatter that fossilized amber. And we're going to also get it onto the gray because that'll add a nice little detail for the parts that are peeking through. I'm almost wondering, I think fossilized amber is the right color that I want to choose. So I need something dark, but let me just grab two other options. So we've got fossilized amber. We have rusty hinge, which I think is too dark. And then we have wild honey, which I think is still lighter technically than fossilized amber. So we're going to stick with fossilized amber, at least for now. And I'm going to grab one more color to have in a minute. So what I want to do with this stamp set, it comes with a bunch of sentiments that all mean hello in their respective languages. You've got Guten Tag, you've got Jambo, Konnichiwa, you've got Ciao, Hola, Bonjour, and you've got hello. And of course, it's all these different languages of different ways to say hello across the world. It's a perfect sentiment for the stamp set. Now, you also got Hej. And what I would like to do, well, first I should probably heat set this. And then, hold on, we had question. You guys get the trust issues. I'm glad to hear it. Where do you get the little circle stickers for the top of the blending brushes? Those are from the Ranger website. So they're not stickers. I printed them in color on cardstock. There's labels that you can find for the distressed products on the Ranger website. And then I want to say it's a 1/2 inch circle press. Let me grab it. It's always within reach. It is, yep, it's a 1/2 inch EK Tools circle punch, and this allows me to cut out those shapes, so whenever I have a color, I can just add it on. All right. Perfect. So what I would like to do is figure out a way to stamp this. And I think this is going to work, but I want to do this the right way. And what I want to do, I'm probably going to have to stamp this multiple times, so just bear with me. So we're going to move this to the center, and I am going to kind of put Guten Tag off to the side like this. And I'm just going to start putting all of these sentiments the best I can fit them. And we're just going to kind of move them close together. And the one thing I don't like about doing it this way is that there's always the possibility of misplacing them, but I think we're going to be okay. So I'm just going to kind of line them all up. And I think I'm just going to, we're going to line them up. And I'm going to have to stamp this out a handful of times, but we have the time to do it. So I don't have many more steps after this. Let's do bonjour. And then let's do ciao. All right, and then we've got, I'm going to save hello for later. We've got konnichiwa. Where are we going to put konnichiwa? And Hej. I think it's a little bit of an ambitious idea. No, the konnichiwa needs to be over here. And then we'll do Hej right up there. All right, let's just make sure everything looks good. Okay, now I'm not using the hello yet. I'm setting this off to the side. I'm going to use it shortly. We're going to use fossilized amber distress oxide ink. I'm going to do it onto my sentiments. Just like that. And then we're going to go and press it down. And it's honestly giving me kind of exactly what I need. And you guys are probably going to be seeing in a second what I'm going for. So, all right, so we've got all of those laid out, but I got to keep going. We got to add enough. We're going to have just one sentiment that says hello. That's going to be a different color, but I want to clean between each application so I don't get any marks on my panel. All right, so I want the hello. Let's see. This is going to be right here. The hello could probably go. Kind of want it to be like right there. So we're going to build around that. Maybe more like that. And then I'm going to build the rest of these to kind of fit around it. No. I'll figure it out. Something. Jumbo. Do a hello right there. We'll do Guten Tag. And I do have an idea for how to keep that one stamp gray without masking it, which I am excited about. Do bonjour right there, kind of butt it up against. Let's do ciao. No. Let's do Hedge can go over here. And let's do Hola. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead, we're gonna press this down, pick it up. I'm going to remove the hello sentiment, and then we're gonna stamp this with the fossilized amber distress oxide ink again. Let's go in and stamp it. Put it in my MISTI so I can do multiple impressions. Just like this. Awesome. And then what I can do is my hello, I can put it into place of where I need it. Let me clean these off first and set those to the side because I'm going to have to go back to them in a minute, and that's okay. Just lose one. Konnichiwa, Guten Tag, no. I'm like, oh no. Set these off. It's almost like a collage of words is what we're going for. And we just got a jumper. I'm trying my best to keep everything together. Isn't that my life? Isn't that our life story? You know, just trying to keep everything together. Perfect. Now I'm going to use Hickory Smoke. Sorry. And this is, of course, still a Distress Oxide ink. And we're going to stamp this in gray. And that way it stays out, it stands out just enough. All right. Let's finish. Let's do another round of the international sentiments. So let's see. I want to say Jumbo fits right under hello. We'll do Hola. And we'll do, well, maybe we'll do bonjour over here. Is there one that's a little longer than Jumbo? Maybe, no, we can't do konnichiwa twice in a row. But we can't do Guten Tag, which fits perfectly. It's almost like a puzzle. You're kind of putting all of these pieces together so it fits nicely. It's a little tedious, I know. But I really believe that our end result is going to be super pretty. Let's do... just like that. Hola. And then ciao. Then after this layer, I probably will be able to go in and see how much more is needed. Let's see, the haze just a little bit. Oh, that's wet. Fixing haze just a little bit. All right, let's stamp this out again. I know this is taking a lot of time, maybe even longer than our coloring, but it's going to be worth it. So and love how all of these, well, I hope you love how all of these colors coordinate together, because I do. That's always what I go for, is color coordination with my projects. All right. Perfect. Now let's go in, let's see how we're doing. Ooh, we're almost there. I just need to do like 1 or 2 more words over there and we should be okay. And I do want to make sure before... No, you know what? As long as they're still in my MISTI, I don't have to worry about it. But I wanted to make sure that all of these are kept in place so I don't lose any of them. Just do one last row of them. And even if they get covered up, that's okay. I'm sitting here, I'm like, where's Hage? Found it. Right in there, little one. Perfect. And then let's do Hola. And Jumbo. Jumbo will put right up there. No, right there, right there. All right. Let's push His up. Oh, sir. We'll just put it down, pick it up. And we'll just nestle it in there. Make sure he fits. And this is Christian, just like making your own pattern paper. It takes a little bit of time. Konnichiwa needs to be fixed. Choose Hinge. Perfect. All right, one last stamp. Oh, I did Hage upside down. That's okay. I think it's going to get covered up. So I think we'll be okay. Little Hage. Always the problem. All right. So I'm going to take this, clean it off. I'm going to set my whole MISTI off to the side with these stamps still in place so I don't lose them. I'll clean this up later. Perfect. Oh, we should do that too. Okay. Perfect. Okay, so we've got our panel and we've got, please cover up, perfect. All right, now we just have to work on one last bit, and I want to use this piece of paper, but I also really like it, and I would like to save as much of it as possible. So I'm going to do this nested die effect. So I'm going to use an A2 die, just kind of get it into position where I want it. And then I only want to create like a frame. So I am going to then do an inner piece like this because this will fully cover it. Awesome. And that way I don't have to waste that much paper. So I'm going to do this sort of nested die effect. Let's see. Just like that. I hope this works, otherwise MSOL. But I think it will, because I'm just sitting here right now. It should totally work. I say that now, famous last words, right? And this way I will save a nice little chunk that I will be able to use for a future project. So let's go in, let's get my die cutting machine. Die cut this out. Get my sandwich. It's actually what's for dinner tonight. I'm really in the mood for a sandwich. All right, awesome. Pull this off. All right, let's see if my magic worked. So we do have our rectangles cut out. That's good news. Both of them are cut out. Awesome. So I can save this inner piece. And I can use this for another project, not waste it. And I can just utilize this bit, which is all that's going to be seen really anyways. So let's start putting everything together. Well, let's start putting things away. This doesn't want to get put away now. All right, we will actually put you away now, sir. And then put you in your envelope. And this is just a standard set of nesting dies. This one's by Hero Arts. Whatever you have on hand works perfectly. So, all right, I've got an A2 card base ready to go. And I've got my Misty Precision Glue Press. Let's make sure it works. Sometimes if it's been sitting for a day or two, I just have to use a pin to sort of clear the clog, which that is not a complaint. That's just an observation. I would much rather clear the clog and use it than be without it. All right, so let's go ahead, push this nicely into place, just like that. Awesome. And then let's get this into place. Now, the only thing I don't love is that that center piece is now missing, so there's not the support there, but it's not too big of a deal, so I'm not going to get that upset. All right. And then let's make sure everything is nice and in place. See, you don't even know that that part underneath is missing. You really don't. Let's go in, push it down. Is it doing where I want it to go? Right, let's make sure comments-wise we're doing okay. I'm glad you guys are liking this. I think this card's turning out really cute. I'm gonna, while that's drying or holding in place, I'm gonna grab my foam tape and we can work on foam taping the back of this. I always like to cut my foam tape using nonstick scissors. So same ones I used for fussy cutting. So let's go in Just add like this. Awesome. Perfect. Still need more tape. This image is going to take a little chunk of it, and that's okay. Let's see. We're getting there. Getting there. Just making sure I get nice coverage with all of my foam tape as best as I can. And all right, I need two last pieces. Oh, this one does use a chunk of foam tape, doesn't it? It's a little tedious. That is A-okay. Patsy, I'm excited for you. It's always exciting when it turns out close to what's being demonstrated. Always, always, always. So I'm glad to hear that. All right. So, oh, I love this card. How sweet is this? I just think this is a really fun way to really put this stamp set to use. And like, how often are you able to work with a card that you're able to say, I used every single stamp that was included in this stamp set to make this card? You know, not that you ever have to, but like, that's what I call really putting a stamp set to work. Make it work for you. Utilize every single piece that's in there and put it all together for your end result. Now, sometimes for some people, though, that might be using it across multiple cards, because that means you use the whole set in multiple situations where you fit the needs that you needed to have. But I really feel like the true, like, marathon of making a stamp set work for you is using it all on one project. Now, if only that meant that taking off this foam tape backing was easy too. That's okay. We're almost there. Okay. Let's see what we got. Oh, y'all, I am loving this. This is one of my favorite cards I've made recently. I am in love with this, but it's not done yet. I want to add some sequins just for a little embellishment. Not too many, maybe just like 3 sequins. I've got these bumblebee sequins that I would like to use that I think would work nicely. Let's see. There's a little black one. A little dark gray one, really. Let's see. What else can I use? No, I don't want that. I want this one. Okay, perfect. I'm going to put this away so I'm not tempted to use more. And then we're just going to, where are my tweezers? I also have trust issue with wax tip embellishment tools because I feel like sometimes they'll pick up your sequin, but they won't put it back down. I think that's going to do it. All right. Perfect. Y'all, whew. All right, we have done it. Let's bring this a little closer. Let's catch up on some comments. You could always fill the center with plain cardstock. That's a really good idea, Kristen. I didn't even think of that. That would be fantastic in the future, and I will keep that in mind. Christian saves the goodies. Patsy's happy that her card is looking close to mine. Let me see. I'm missing Christian's last comment. The structural integrity of the house will be maintained through mailing. My husband is a structural engineer and would approve. I get Christian's husband approval. We are all happy. All right, y'all. We are all done with our card tonight. So let me go ahead and recap what we did. So we used the Around the World stamp set. And we did what I call, we put that stamp set to work. Not only did we color up the building, but we also used all of the sentiments that are included in the stamp set to make our background, which is a simple just hello card. For the image, instead of stamping it in black ink to color, I went ahead and I stamped it in a gold pigment ink, which I then sealed using a clear embossing powder. After that, we made our background using all of the sentiments. We did some ink blending, and we also created a frame using a coordinating pattern paper color from the Day in the Park paper collection. And we added some sequins, and it turned out really pretty. This card's so pretty. Oh, I know someone would, this card would go to, like, I'm sure can think of the right person in your head that that one person that this card would just make them smile. And like, it. I love when you make a card like that where you don't have someone in mind to send it to like immediately, but then after you make it, you're like, you know what? I know who's going to like this, and they're going to. So be sure to check out, I will get a blog post going. You guys can check it out with more details. I am going to try my best to get this uploaded to my YouTube channel for the replay. I'm saying try because the last Facebook Live I did, I can't download the video off Facebook, so I'm going to cross my fingers that Facebook lets me this time. But if I can get it uploaded, I promise you I will. And thank you all so very much for being here tonight for this crafting. I love this card. I hope you love it as much as I do. And I can't wait to see your own twist on how to make this card. If you guys ever have any questions, always free to reach out in the fan club. Just write a comment at me. I'd be happy to help. Comment on one of my posts or send me a Facebook message. Thank you all so much for being here tonight once again. And I will catch you on my next live. Goodbye.